NFL teams on fraud alert. Like, and I'm not frog, like the jumping, fraud alert. Like you get the text from Chase that's like, did you make this, I never feel guiltier about a stupid thing that I'm purchasing than when I get the text that's like, did you make a purchase at Best Buy? And you're like, yeah, thanks for the lecture. I get it. So this is what we're going to
Yes,
do.
that was me. Yeah.
It's what we do. It's how the world works. So we're going to send some fraud alert text out. We're going to figure out if some of these teams are on fraud alert. We'll start with 3-0, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker is everybody's darling. I wish he was my quarterback. You wish he was your quarterback. Everybody wishes Baker was their quarterback. But are the 3-0 Bucs fraudulent?
No. And I rebuke that. The Bucs are my team of destiny. I fall more and more in love with this scrappy, plucky Buccaneers team every single week. You said it. Everybody loves Baker. I think everybody has kind of fallen in love with the Baker of today and the development, the character development, the player development that we have seen from Baker from his time at Oklahoma to his time in Cleveland, which is a little rough, and then to now. He's grown a lot, he's learned a lot, and he is a way better just person and player, I think, Fitz. He's so much more of a trustworthy quarterback today than he was in his, former life in the NFL. The defense is top 15 in the NFL. The offense is top 15 in the NFL. And they also play in the NFC South. So it's basically 6 easy gift wrap wins right there between the Falcons, Panthers, and the Saints. So they're going to win the NFC South, obviously. They'll make the playoffs by winning their division. And I think with the way that Baker plays, with the biggest IDGAF attitude of anybody in the NFL, why couldn't they steal a playoff game? Why not? This team's plucky. They're a team of destiny.
This team is not plucky. They are not a team of destiny. This team is Fraudy McFroen.
Yes, they are.
Fraudy McFroen. They have 3 wins.
Not.
They are 3-0, and those 3 wins took a last-second, oh my God, effort to beat the Falcons. Checkmark, suck. The Texans, checkmark, suck.
They
then
do suck.
The Jets, checkmark, suck.
They suck as
well.
They
have 3 wins over 3 bad football teams that took all the way down to the wire. And then we say, well, it's the personality. And why is this a double standard to the Chiefs? Well, because the Chiefs did it so much that we couldn't make it make sense. But the reason we couldn't make it make sense is because usually lucky wins sort of eventually come back to the mean. It comes back to the average. I think Baker is incredible. I think Emeka Egbuka is incredible. I love watching them play. I enjoy watching Bucs games every single week. I don't know how the hell they're winning. More importantly, I don't know how the hell they're in the situation where they need luck at the end of the game to win. I cannot make it make sense that these games have been so wildly close, but I can't stop thinking about it. At this point, I'm looking around and I'm saying, I want you to be a Super Bowl team. You're supposed to be a Super Bowl team. You have all of the elite things in the elite places to be the elite team we want you to be, but you are struggling to beat the teams that stink. I don't know. Makes me a little bit nervous. You're right. The NFC South absolutely is just a whole garbage can. It's terrible. I get that. I get the NFC South sucks. But at some point, if we want the Bucs to be a great team in the NFC, if the answer is can they make the playoffs, sure. Maybe they're not a fraud in making the playoffs because they're the one athletic kid playing dodgeball against a bunch of fat kids. Okay, you're going to make the playoffs. But does that mean that you're going to be really good when you play against the other athletes? Nope. Fraudy McFroen. Fraud alert.
Didn't the Eagles get lucky beating the Rams?
Sure. Yeah.
Didn't the Eagles get a little lucky that CeeDee Lamb dropped 4 balls in that week 1 matchup? There's a little bit of luck involved there. Sometimes winning football games takes luck, and sometimes winning gross games close, not sometimes, all the time, they count the same. They're 3-0, just like the Bills. I'm not saying they're the Bills. They're 3-0, just like the Eagles. I'm not saying that they are the Eagles. But sometimes you got to get a little lucky. Sometimes you have to learn how to win games oogle. And they have won games oogle.
It is okay to need a little luck to beat the Rams. You shouldn't need a little luck to beat the Jets and the Falcons. Or the Texans. I'm going to stop couching the Texans like they don't suck. They're 0-3. I don't want the Texans to be bad, but I'm just putting them all through. If we were coming here and we're all right, we were having a draft on teams this week. We're doing a snake draft and we're deciding which teams we have the most faith in, and you got to bet your house on it. And you suddenly got the portion of the snake draft where you were stuck with the Texans, the Falcons, or the Jets. How you feeling at that point? You feel like you're losing your house. You're
Ugh.
packing things up. They needed luck to beat those teams. So I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All right, let's go to
Yeah,
another.
they are bad.
Let's go to another team. We'll figure out if they're frauds. Are the undefeated Indianapolis Colts frauds?
I'm going to say this quietly, but maybe they are. Fitz, I need you to help me with something, to be my counselor and my therapist. The Colts have punted once in 3 games. Daniel Jones looks like a freaking league MVP. The Colts are undefeated. And everybody wanted to pick against the Colts against the crummy crappy Titans this past week, and they clobbered the Titans in Nashville. Why can't I believe in this team? I think the Colts could be frauds, but I can't believe in them. I can't believe in Daniel Jones. I can't believe in a Colts team that's been 9-8 and 8-9 pretty much the last several seasons. Why can't I believe in this Colts team?
I think because we've seen how bad it can look sometimes, and we've seen how bad Daniel Jones can play. And that's just being fair for a second. And if I wanted to come in and be a naysayer, I would say, well, you beat the Titans, who surely look like they are just careening towards a top 3 draft pick. You barely beat the Broncos, who, by the way, may not be all that good this year. And you beat the Dolphins, who suck. So I could totally understand that. Now, I'm going to take all of that caution. I'm going to throw it to the wind, and I'm going to say that this is a playoff team, baby. Why? Because the best of Daniel Jones is coming out now. This is where just styles make fights. Daniel Jones, from the minute he got drafted from the Giants, was going to be failed by the Giants. Everything was failure about that. I really believe in Shane Steichen with this quarterback. Also, Matt Harmon pointed out on Fantasy Football Live this week, look at some of the weapons he's throwing to now. There is no doubt that they have good receivers, and Warren's a good draft pick at a tight end, and they have maybe the most under-talked about running back in the NFL this year. So they've got players all over the offensive side of the ball. That's why I think the Colts are legit. You're right that they have been 6-7, as the kids say, over the last couple of years, 9-8, 8-9. Nothing to write home about that, right? I get that. But also they did that with really, you did that with Gardner Minshew. If you win those games with Gardner Minshew, you should get some sort of an award. You should get, at the end of the year, they should get a new NFL award out that's sorry you had to play with that guy as your quarterback award. And that's what he's had for the last couple of years. Now Steichen gets Daniel Jones, and we thought it would be the same thing. It just isn't. It just isn't. Daniel Jones looks different. And maybe you're right. Maybe this guy is going to come falling down at some point. Maybe it all comes back crashing down to earth. I don't know. This just feels like you have the right combination. And I think there's something to, kind of like we saw the resurgence of Baker. And I know I've told this a million times, but at the Super Bowl a couple years ago, when I asked Baker what was different, why he suddenly had success in Tampa, he said, you know what? I wasn't the number 1 pick anymore. I wasn't the franchise savior anymore. I was just able to come in and be me with people that believed in me, and I got really comfortable. I think Daniel Jones getting out of New York and getting away from the Giants' expectations, getting away from the organization, getting away from being talked about every week, to going somewhere where essentially he's invisible. He can go take his family out for shrimp cocktail and nobody's going to stop him in Indianapolis. I just
Heard
think
great things about the shrimp cocktail.
Oh, it's too spicy for me. But it's still, I think Daniel Jones maintains this level of success because this is the right city and team and coach for his personality and skill set. Playoffs, baby. I'm taking it. What about the Jags? Stay in the same
Well, they're going
division.
to go to the playoffs because the AFC South stinks. But speaking
the Jags
of the
2-1.
South,
The we'll stay there. The Jag. I mean, we're saying that. Are you saying the Jags are frauds at 2-1?
yeah, I think that Trevor Lawrence is a fraud. I think that we have finally, as a football society, decided that Trevor Lawrence is who he is. When for so many years we were holding on to the potential. I mean, just look at him. He looks like an Adonis out there. But we were holding on to the potential of Trevor Lawrence, of the next great one. The 5-star recruit who led Clemson to the national championship game and to a national championship. And the number 1 overall pick that we all were holding on to Trevor Lawrence and his potential in the NFL. He's not that. Trevor Lawrence is fine. Trevor Lawrence is good. Trevor Lawrence is not great. Trevor Lawrence is not elite. Trevor Lawrence is not, and I don't think will ever be in the conversation of that elite tier of quarterbacks in the NFL. That's what we expected him to be. So for that, I think he's a fraud. I think the Jags are frauds. I don't think the Jags are going to be in the playoff conversation in the slightest. The Jags look rough.
Yeah, everything about the Jaguars organization screams fraud to me. Trevor Lawrence screams fraud to me. He had a throw in the Texans game that was intercepted that Jamarcus Russell would have seen coming. Like, you are not talking about the sort of throw that an elite quarterback makes. And I know the potential. Again, as I said earlier, I was standing on the sidelines when he was playing for college football national championships, and there were real conversations about whether or not he should sue the NFL to change the rules to try and be drafted earlier because he was going to be the next John Elway. He is not the next John Elway. And at some point, no matter who you were in college and no matter what we thought of you coming in, we have to change our minds. Much like we have to change our minds about the things we thought about Daniel Jones the day he was drafted, maybe in the opposite way, we need to change our minds about the things we think around Trevor Lawrence just because of where he was drafted and just because of how he looked in college. The Jags have done everything they can to screw him up every single step of the way. Maybe a change of scenery can bring out the greatness in him. I don't know. But that change of scenery isn't coming just by bringing in a new coach. Liam Cohen, fine. There are some people out there that think he's going to be a world beater. I see somebody that, frankly, has been let go multiple times by smart minds that have just let him walk out of the building. Liam Cohen and the Jags are going to be fine, maybe. Trevor Lawrence is going to be fine, maybe. But I wouldn't bet anything on this organization or this quarterback moving forward. In fact, look at their schedule coming up over the course of the next few weeks. They take on an undefeated 49ers team. Then they get the Chiefs. Then they get the Seahawks. Then they get the Rams. Like, they have 3 straight games that are going to be difficult for them to win. And in that process, we're going to be reminded that the Jags are actually who we always think the Jags are. They're forgettable as a brand. They're forgettable as a football team. Everything they do is just stuck in some realm of irrelevance and mediocrity. That's who the Jags are. That's who the Jags will be. That's who the Jags will be defined as until they prove otherwise. So